The doctor's words echoed in Anna Whitmore's mind as she walked slowly down the dusty main street of Pine Ridge, each step taking her further from the medical office, where her last hope had been extinguished. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Whitmore, but the damage from the fever was too extensive. You'll never be able to carry a child to term." At 28, Anna had spent the last 5 years of her marriage to Robert Whitmore desperately trying to conceive, enduring 3 heartbreaking miscarriages that left her feeling like a failure as a woman. The scarlet fever that had nearly killed her 2 years ago had apparently sealed her fate, destroying any chance she might have had of experiencing the motherhood she had dreamed of since childhood. Robert had been understanding at first, supportive through the early losses, and patient during the long months of hoping and disappointment. But as time passed and Anna's womb remained empty, she could see the change in her husband's demeanor. The tender glances became distant stares, the comforting embraces grew perfunctory, and conversations about their future together became carefully sterilized of any mention of children. Last month, Robert had finally spoken the words Anna had been dreading. "Perhaps it's time we accept that this marriage isn't going to give us what we both want. There are other women, Anna, women who could give me the son I need to carry on the family name." The divorce papers had been filed quietly, with Robert citing irreconcilable differences rather than the more humiliating truth. Anna had been granted a modest settlement and the small house in town that had been her wedding gift, but she had lost the man she loved and the future she had envisioned. More painfully, she had lost her identity as a wife and her hope of ever being a mother. Now, walking past the schoolyard where children played during their afternoon recess, Anna felt the familiar ache in her chest that accompanied any reminder of what she would never have. The laughter of the children seemed to mock her emptiness, and she quickened her pace to escape the sound. "Miss Anna, Miss Anna." Anna turned to see young Billy Thompson running toward her, his face flushed with excitement, and his school books clutched haphazardly in his arms. At 8 years old, Billy was one of her favorite pupils from her days as the town school teacher, a position she had lost when she married Robert. As married women were expected to focus on their domestic duties rather than careers. "Hello, Billy," Anna said, managing a smile despite her heavy heart. "Shouldn't you be in school?" "School's over for the day," Billy replied breathlessly. "Miss Anna, I heard something terrible happened to you. Pa says you're not married anymore and that you might have to leave town. Is that true?" Anna felt her throat tighten at the boy's innocent directness. "It's true that Mr. Whitmore and I are no longer married, Billy, but I haven't decided whether to leave town yet." "You can't leave," Billy exclaimed with the passionate certainty of childhood. "Who would help me with my reading? Who would tell me stories about faraway places? Miss Anna, you're the smartest lady in town." Anna knelt down to Billy's level, touched by his obvious distress at the thought of her departure. "Billy, that's very sweet of you to say, but sometimes grown-ups have to make difficult choices about where they belong." "You belong here," Billy said firmly, "with people who care about you. Miss Anna, would you like to come have dinner with my pa and me? We don't get many visitors, and pa's cooking is terrible. He always burns the biscuits." Anna hesitated, not wanting to intrude on the Thompson family. Billy's father, Daniel Thompson, was a widowed rancher who had moved to the area 2 years ago after his wife died in childbirth. Anna had met him briefly at church socials, finding him to be a quiet, serious man who seemed devoted to his young son, but kept largely to himself. "I don't want to impose, Billy. Your father might not appreciate unexpected guests." "Oh, he wouldn't mind," Billy said confidently. "Pa's always saying how nice it would be to have someone to talk to besides me and the cattle. And he remembers you from when you taught school. He said you were real good with children, and it was a shame when you had to stop teaching." Anna felt a warmth spread through her chest at the thought that Daniel Thompson had noticed her work and valued it. So few people seemed to remember or care about her abilities as a teacher now that she was defined primarily by her failed marriage and barren womb. "Well," Anna said slowly, "I suppose I could stop by for a short visit. But you'll need to ask your father first to make sure it's all right." Billy's face lit up with joy. "Really? Oh, Miss Anna, that's wonderful. Pa's going to be so surprised. Come on, let's go ask him right now." Before Anna could protest, Billy had grabbed her hand and was pulling her down the street toward the livery stable, where Daniel Thompson kept his wagon when he came to town. Anna found herself being swept along by the boy's enthusiasm, and for the first time in months, she felt a flutter of something that might have been anticipation. They found Daniel loading supplies into his wagon, his broad shoulders straining against his work shirt as he hefted sacks of grain. At 35, he was still a handsome man despite the lines of grief and worry that marked his weathered face. His dark hair was beginning to show touches of silver at the temples, and his brown eyes held a sadness that Anna recognized from her own mirror. "Pa," Billy called out, releasing Anna's hand to run to his father. "Look who I found. It's Miss Anna, and I invited her to dinner. That's all right, isn't it?" Daniel straightened up, turning to see Anna standing somewhat awkwardly behind his excited son. A slow smile spread across his face, transforming his usually serious expression into something warm and welcoming. "Miss Anna," Daniel said, touching the brim of his hat respectfully. "It's good to see you. Billy's told me a lot about you. All good things, I assure you. I'd be honored if you'd join us for dinner, though I'm afraid Billy's right about my cooking skills." Anna felt her cheeks warm at his genuine welcome. "Mr. Thompson, I don't want to intrude on your evening. Billy was just being kind, please." Daniel interrupted gently. "It would be a pleasure to have adult conversation for once. Billy's excellent company, but he tends to discuss mostly frogs and fishing rather than more substantial topics." "I like substantial topics too," Billy protested, making both adults smile. "Of course you do, son," Daniel said, ruffling Billy's hair affectionately. "Miss Anna, we live about 5 miles outside of town. Would you be comfortable riding in the wagon, or would you prefer to follow in your own buggy?" Anna glanced down at her simple dress and practical boots, realizing that a wagon ride to a ranch dinner was exactly the kind of informal, genuine interaction she had been craving. "The wagon would be fine, Mr. Thompson. Thank you." As Daniel helped her up onto the wagon seat, Anna marveled at how natural this felt, sitting beside a man who treated her with respect rather than pity, listening to Billy chatter excitedly about his school day and ranch adventures. For the first time since the divorce, she felt like a person with value rather than a woman defined solely by her failures. The Thompson ranch was modest but well maintained, with a comfortable log house, a sturdy barn, and corrals that spoke of a man who took pride in his work. As they approached the house, Anna could see a vegetable garden that clearly needed attention and laundry hanging on a line, with the haphazard efficiency of a man doing his best with unfamiliar domestic tasks. "Welcome to our home," Daniel said as he helped Anna down from the wagon. "It's not much, but it's peaceful and Billy seems to thrive here." "It's lovely," Anna said sincerely, noting the care that had gone into the construction and the obvious love that maintained it. "You've built something wonderful here." Over dinner, which consisted of slightly burnt steak, lumpy mashed potatoes, and surprisingly good cornbread, Anna found herself relaxing in ways she hadn't experienced in years. Daniel was an intelligent conversationalist who asked thoughtful questions about her teaching experience and listened carefully to her answers. Billy regaled them with stories about his adventures exploring the ranch and his ongoing war with the arithmetic lessons his father tried to teach him. "Pa's real smart about ranching and building things," Billy said between bites of cornbread. "But he's terrible at explaining fractions. Miss Anna, you could probably explain fractions so they made sense, couldn't you?" Anna glanced at Daniel, who was watching her with an expression of hopeful interest. "I always found that fractions were easier to understand when you could see them in practical terms," she said carefully, "like dividing a pie into equal pieces, or sharing hay between different groups of cattle." "See, Pa," Billy said triumphantly, "I told you Miss Anna was the best teacher ever. She could help me with all my lessons." Daniel's cheeks reddened slightly at his son's obvious matchmaking attempts. "Billy, Miss Anna has her own life to worry about. She doesn't need to take on the job of educating a wild boy like you." But Anna found herself intrigued by the possibility. Teaching had been her passion before marriage, and she missed the satisfaction of helping young minds discover new concepts and ideas. More than that, she missed feeling useful, needed, valued for her abilities rather than pitied for her limitations. Actually, Anna said slowly, I've been thinking about returning to teaching in some capacity. Perhaps private tutoring, since the school position is no longer available to me. Daniel set down his fork and looked at her seriously. Miss Anna, would you consider tutoring Billy? He's bright, but he needs more structured education than I can provide. I'd pay you fairly for your time, and it would be a tremendous help. Anna felt her heart lift at the genuine need in Daniel's voice and the hopeful expression on Billy's face. Here was a chance to be useful again, to exercise the skills that had once defined her, to matter to someone in a way that had nothing to do with her ability to bear children. I'd be honored to help, Anna said quietly. When would you like to start? Billy's whoop of joy was so loud it startled the cattle in the nearby pasture, and Anna found herself laughing for the first time in months as she looked around the table at Daniel's grateful smile and Billy's ecstatic grin. She realized that sometimes the family you needed found you in the most unexpected ways. She might never be a mother in the traditional sense, but perhaps there were other kinds of mothering that mattered just as much. 3 months into her arrangement with the Thompson family, Anna had established a routine that brought structure and purpose back to her life. 3 days a week, she would drive her small buggy out to the ranch, where she would spend the morning working with Billy on his lessons and the afternoon helping with household tasks that had clearly been neglected since Daniel's wife passed away. Billy had proven to be an eager and intelligent student, hungry for knowledge and delighted to have someone who could answer his endless questions about everything from the geography of distant countries to the mechanics of how machines worked. Anna found tremendous satisfaction in watching his face light up when he mastered a difficult concept, and she took pride in designing lessons that captured his attention and made learning an adventure rather than a chore. Miss Anna, Billy said one afternoon as they finished his geography lesson, do you think I could ever see the ocean? Pa says it's so big you can't see the other side, but that seems impossible. Anna smiled at his wonder, remembering her own childhood dreams of travel and adventure. I think you could see the ocean someday if you really wanted to, Billy. The world is full of possibilities for young men who get a good education and work hard to achieve their goals. Would you come with me? Billy asked with the innocent assumption that Anna would always be part of his life. You could show me all the places we've studied in our geography books. Anna felt her throat tighten with emotion at his casual inclusion of her in his future plans. That sounds like a wonderful adventure, Billy. We'll have to see what life brings us. As the weeks passed, Anna began to notice the subtle ways that her presence was changing the household dynamic. Daniel had initially been somewhat stiff and formal around her, clearly grateful for her help with Billy's education, but careful to maintain appropriate boundaries. But gradually, he had begun to relax, sharing stories about his ranching challenges, asking for her opinion on decisions regarding Billy's upbringing, and even seeking her advice about practical household matters. Anna, Daniel said one evening, as she prepared to leave for town, I've been thinking about Billy's future education. He's progressing so well with your tutoring, but eventually he'll need more advanced instruction than either of us can provide. There's a good school in Denver, but you don't want to send him away, Anna finished. Understanding the conflict in Daniel's voice, he's all I have left, Daniel admitted quietly. After Mary died, Billy became my whole world. The thought of him being hundreds of miles away, growing up without me, it terrifies me. Anna studied Daniel's face, seeing the love and fear warring in his expression. Daniel, Billy is a remarkable boy who will need opportunities to reach his full potential, but he's also deeply attached to you and to this place. Perhaps there's a way to give him both, a good education and the security of home. What do you mean? I mean that good teachers can be found closer to home if you know where to look. Anna said carefully, Billy is still young. With the right instruction and resources, he could be prepared for university-level work by the time he's 16 or 17. Then he could choose whether to pursue advanced education, knowing he has a solid foundation and a home to return to. Daniel's eyes brightened with hope. You mean continue with private tutoring, Anna? I couldn't ask you to commit to that kind of long-term arrangement. You have your own life to consider. your own future to plan. Anna felt her cheeks warm at the implication behind his words. The truth was that she had begun to think of the Thompson ranch as more of a home than her empty house in town. She looked forward to her days here with an anticipation that had nothing to do with the modest wages Daniel paid her, and everything to do with the sense of belonging she felt when Billy ran to greet her or when Daniel asked her opinion about ranch business. My future seems to be taking shape just fine right here, Anna said softly. Billy is the brightest student I've ever had the privilege to teach, and I can't imagine a more rewarding use of my skills. Before Daniel could respond, Billy burst through the kitchen door with his usual energy, his clothes muddy and his face glowing with excitement. Miss Anna, Pa, you have to come see what I found. There's a mama cat in the barn with 3 tiny kittens, and they're the cutest things you ever saw. Anna and Daniel exchanged amused glances as Billy grabbed their hands and began pulling them toward the barn. As they walked across the yard together, Anna was struck by how natural this felt, like a family heading out to investigate their son's latest discovery. The kittens were indeed adorable, tiny balls of fluff nursing contentedly while their mother watched the human intruders with wary but tolerant eyes. Billy was immediately enchanted, wanting to name each kitten and make elaborate plans for their care. Can we keep them, Pa, please? I promise I'll take good care of them, and Miss Anna could help me learn about how to feed them and keep them healthy. Daniel looked at his son's hopeful face and then at Anna, who was kneeling beside Billy and gently stroking one of the kittens with obvious delight. I suppose the barn could use some good Mausers, he said gruffly, but taking care of animals is a big responsibility. Billy, you'll need to prove you're mature enough to handle it. Billy's response was to throw his arms around both Anna and Daniel in an enthusiastic group hug that nearly knocked them all over. Thank you, Pa. Thank you, Miss Anna. This is the best day ever. As they walked back to the house, Billy chattered excitedly about kitten care and potential names, but Anna found herself acutely aware of Daniel walking beside her. There had been something different in his eyes when he looked at her in the barn. Something warm and appreciative that had nothing to do with her tutoring skills, and everything to do with the way she had shared in Billy's excitement. That evening, as Anna prepared to leave for town, Daniel walked her to her buggy with an expression of thoughtful consideration. Anna, he said quietly, I want you to know how much Billy and I appreciate everything you've done for us. You've brought something to this house that's been missing since Mary died. Not just education for Billy, but life warmth. The feeling that we're a family again, instead of just two people getting by. Anna felt her heart begin to race at his words. Daniel, this arrangement has been as beneficial for me as it has been for you. Billy has given me a sense of purpose I thought I'd lost forever. It's more than that, though, isn't it? Daniel asked gently. At least, I hope it is. Anna, these past months of having you here, of seeing you with Billy, of talking with you about everything from ranch business to philosophy, it's made me realize that maybe I'm ready to stop just surviving and start living again. Anna stared at him, hardly daring to believe what she was hearing. Daniel, what are you saying? I'm saying that I've fallen in love with you, Daniel replied simply. I love your intelligence, your kindness, your patience with Billy, the way you've made our house feel like a home again. I love the woman you are, Anna, not some idealized version of what a woman should be. Anna felt tears spring to her eyes. Daniel, you need to understand something about me. I'll never be able to give you children. The doctors have made that very clear. Daniel stepped closer, gently taking her hands in his larger ones. Anna, I already have a child. What I need is a partner, a woman who can love Billy as her own and help me raise him to be a good man. What I need is you. But what if someday you want more children? What if you regret Anna? Daniel interrupted gently. Look at what we've built together these past few months. Look how happy Billy is, how well our family works. I don't need more children. I need the woman who's already proven she can be the perfect mother to the child I have. Anna looked into Daniel's honest brown eyes and saw nothing but love and certainty. Are you proposing to me, Daniel Thompson? I am, Daniel said with a smile that transformed his usually serious face. Anna Whitmore, will you marry me? Will you be my wife and Billy's mother in every way that matters?" Before Anna could answer, a small voice piped up from the nearby window. "Please say yes, Miss Anna. I've been hoping Pa would ask you to marry us forever." Both adults turned to see Billy's face pressed against the glass, his expression hopeful and determined. Anna burst into laughter at the boy's obvious eavesdropping, and Daniel shook his head with fond exasperation. "Well," Anna said, looking between the man she loved and the boy who had already claimed her heart, "I suppose I can't disappoint my future son. Yes, Daniel Thompson, I will marry you. And yes, Billy, I will be honored to be your ma in every way that matters." Billy's whoop of joy could probably be heard in the next county, and Daniel's kiss was gentle and reverent, full of promise for the future they would build together. As Anna drove home that night, her heart full of joy and anticipation, she marveled at how completely her life had changed. 6 months ago, she had been a divorced woman defined by her inability to have children, convinced that she would never experience the motherhood she had always dreamed of. Now she was engaged to a good man who valued her for who she was rather than what she could give him, and she was about to become mother to a wonderful boy who had already claimed her as his own. She might never carry a child in her womb, but she was learning that motherhood had as much to do with love and choice as it did with biology. The wedding took place on a crisp October morning in the small church in Pine Ridge, with half the town in attendance to witness the union of Daniel Thompson and Anna Whitmore. Anna wore a simple blue dress that brought out her eyes, while Daniel stood tall and proud in his best suit, his hand resting protectively on Billy's shoulder as they waited for Anna to walk down the aisle. Billy had insisted on being part of the ceremony, standing between his father and soon-to-be mother as they exchanged vows. When the minister asked if anyone objected to the union, Billy piped up loudly, "I object to waiting any longer. When can I start calling her Ma?" The congregation erupted in gentle laughter, and Anna felt tears of joy stream down her face as she looked at this boy who had chosen her as his mother with the wholehearted enthusiasm that only a child could bring to such decisions. "Do you, Daniel Thompson, take Anna Whitmore to be your lawfully wedded wife, to love and to cherish, in sickness and in health, for better or worse, as long as you both shall live?" "I do," Daniel said firmly, his eyes never leaving Anna's face. "And I promise to love her not just as my wife, but to honor her as the mother of my son and the heart of our family." "And do you, Anna Whitmore, take Daniel Thompson to be your lawfully wedded husband, to love and to cherish, in sickness and in health, for better or worse, as long as you both shall live?" Anna looked at Daniel and then down at Billy, seeing her whole future reflected in their loving faces. "I do," she said clearly, "and I promise to love not just Daniel, but to cherish Billy as my own son and to build with both of them a home filled with love, learning, and laughter." When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Billy threw his arms around both adults in an exuberant group hug. Before Daniel could even kiss his bride, "Now we're really a family," Billy declared, and the entire congregation burst into applause. The reception was held at the ranch, with neighbors bringing food and good wishes for the new family. Anna marveled at how quickly the community had accepted her transition from divorced outcast to respected wife and mother. It seemed that her role in Billy's education and obvious devotion to the Thompson family had earned her a place in the social fabric of the community that her previous marriage had never provided. "Mrs. Thompson," said elderly Mrs. Patterson, approaching Anna with a warm smile, "I want you to know how pleased we all are to see you so happy. That boy of yours has been singing your praises to anyone who'll listen, and it's clear you've brought joy back to that family." Anna felt her heart swell at being called Mrs. Thompson and at the casual reference to Billy as her boy. "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. Billy has brought as much joy to my life as I hope I've brought to his." As the evening wound down and the last guests departed, Anna found herself standing in the kitchen of what was now her home, marveling at how completely her life had changed. The dishes from the reception were washed and put away, the leftover food stored for future meals, and the whole house bore the comfortable evidence of a celebration well enjoyed. "Ma," Billy said, appearing beside her with the comfortable familiarity of a child claiming his parent, "can you tell me a bedtime story?" Grandpa's stories are always about cattle and weather, but you know stories about knights and dragons and faraway kingdoms. Anna's heart nearly burst at hearing Billy call her Ma for the first time. It was the title she had never thought she would earn. The identity she had been told was forever beyond her reach. Of course, sweetheart, Anna said, kneeling down. To Billy's level. What kind of story would you like to hear? Tell me about a boy who finds the perfect family. Billy said with the earnest directness of childhood. A boy whose ma and pa love him so much that they never want him to go away. And who gets to stay home and be happy forever. Anna exchanged a meaningful look with Daniel, who had been listening from the doorway with obvious emotion. I know just the story, Anna said softly, as Anna tucked Billy into bed and told him a tale about a boy who found exactly the family he needed. She reflected on the unexpected turns that had brought them all together. A year ago, she had been consumed with grief over her failed marriage and her inability to bear children. She had believed that her value as a woman was defined by her fertility, that her dreams of motherhood were forever shattered. But Billy had shown her that motherhood was not about biology. It was about love, commitment, and choice. He had chosen her as his mother with the same wholehearted enthusiasm that she had chosen him as her son. Their bond was not diminished by the absence of shared DNA. If anything, it was strengthened by the deliberate decision they had both made to be family. When Billy finally fell asleep, Anna joined Daniel on the front porch where they had spent so many evenings talking about Billy's education and their hopes for his future. Now they sat as husband and wife, looking out over the ranch that had become Anna's home and planning the life they would build together. Anna, Daniel said softly, I want you to know that marrying you feels like the completion of something I didn't even know was broken. You've made Billy happier than I've seen him since his mother died. And you've given me back the hope that our family could be whole again. Daniel, Anna replied, leaning against his shoulder. A year ago, I thought my life was over because I couldn't be the traditional wife and mother that society expected. But Billy and you have shown me that families come in all forms, and that love is what makes them real, not blood or convention. He calls you Ma now, Daniel observed with a smile in his voice. He's called me Ma in his heart for months, Anna said. Today just made it official. 5 years later, Anna stood in the same spot on the porch, watching 17-year-old Billy demonstrate his expertise with the lasso to a group of visiting cousins from back east. He had grown tall and confident under her guidance, excelling in his studies while also learning the practical skills needed to help run the ranch. Ma, Billy called out, using the title that had become as natural as breathing. Come tell these city folks about the time you taught me to calculate the area of the pastures, using geometry. They don't believe a woman could know mathematics. Anna laughed and walked over to where the young people were gathered, ready to once again defend the proposition that intelligence had nothing to do with gender, and everything to do with opportunity and encouragement. Billy had never doubted her abilities or her authority as his mother, and his confidence in her had taught him to respect the capabilities of all women. As Anna explained the practical applications of mathematics to the fascinated visitors, she caught Daniel's eye across the yard. He was watching her with the same love and admiration he had shown on their wedding day, and she could see his pride in both his wife and his son. That evening, as they sat together reviewing Billy's college application essays, Anna marveled at how naturally they had evolved into a family unit. Billy sought advice from both parents, valued Anna's input on academic matters as much as Daniel's guidance on practical concerns, and never seemed to remember a time when Anna had not been his mother. Ma, Billy said, looking up from his essay about his educational goals. I want to study agricultural science so I can come back and help Pa modernize the ranch operations. But I also want to study education because you've shown me how important good teaching is for helping people reach their potential. Anna felt tears prick her eyes at his words. Billy, whatever you choose to study, your father and I will be proud of you. But I'm especially touched that you value education because of our work together. Ma, Billy said, seriously, you've been the best mother anyone could ask for. I know you didn't give birth to me, but you've been my real mother in every way that matters. You've taught me, encouraged me, believed in me, and loved me unconditionally. That's what real mothers do. Anna looked at this remarkable young man who had grown up under her guidance, who called her Ma with pride and love, who had never once made her feel like a substitute for his real mother, because he understood that she was his real mother in every meaningful sense. "Billy," Anna said softly, "you've given me the greatest gift anyone could give. You made me a mother, not through biology, but through choice and love and daily commitment. You've proven that families are built through love, not just born through blood." Later that night, as Anna and Daniel prepared for bed in the room they had shared for 5 happy years, Daniel reflected on the completeness of their family unit. "Do you ever regret it?" Daniel asked gently. "Do you ever wish you could have had biological children?" Anna considered the question seriously, as she always did when Daniel asked about her feelings regarding motherhood. "I used to think that biological motherhood was the only real kind," she said finally, "but Billy has taught me that being chosen as someone's mother is just as real and just as meaningful as giving birth to them. I couldn't love him more if I had carried him myself." "He loves you the same way," Daniel observed. "I've watched him with other boys and their mothers, and there's no difference in how he relates to you. You're not his stepmother or his adoptive mother, you're just his mother, period." Anna smiled at the truth of that observation. Billy had never once referred to her as anything other than Ma or my mother. When speaking to others, in his mind and heart, she was his parent as completely as Daniel was, and their family was as real and solid as any family built through traditional means. As Anna drifted off to sleep beside her husband, surrounded by the peaceful sounds of their ranch and secure in the knowledge that their son was safely asleep down the hall, she reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment of perfect contentment. They had said she would never be a mother, and in the traditional sense, they had been right. But they had failed to understand that motherhood was not defined by pregnancy and childbirth alone. It was defined by love, commitment, sacrifice, guidance, and the daily choice to put a child's needs above your own. Billy had chosen her as his mother, and she had chosen him as her son. Together, they had proven that the most meaningful families are not always born. Sometimes they are built by people who recognize in each other exactly what they need to be complete. The lonely rancher's son had called her Ma, and in doing so, he had made her dreams of motherhood come true in ways she never could have imagined. They had all found exactly what they needed in each other, and their family was stronger for being chosen rather than simply inherited. Anna Whitmore Thompson was, in every way that mattered, a mother, and that was the most beautiful truth of all.